Hello, it's me! And I'm gonna do more game collecting stuff. In case you forgot who I am, I'm Matt Breslau. Welcome to my pickups video for August 2018, which means I've been doing this for an entire year. I'm very happy about that, but let's address the elephant in the room already. If you have been part of this and have watched since the beginning, or even just since the last episode, you'll notice that my room looks a little different. I got so much stuff just this past month alone that I needed to buy a new shelf. Now don't worry, all the stuff that was on that old shelf has been relocated. It just, that shelf wasn't really conducive to be able to fit games on it. It was more of a display shelf for larger items. These can do both, so I just bought another, I think it's like a third size of these, shelf from IKEA. And as you can see, I have a lot of stuff to talk about. I'm going to try to do it as quickly as possible because otherwise we'll be here forever. And I really don't intend to make this video much longer than the others. It just so happens that I got so much stuff. And that's thanks to a lot of people. There is a bunch of stuff that I bought, but I'd be lying if I said that I didn't get a lot of this stuff because of some friends of mine. So we'll talk about that as it comes up. I don't really have any particular order that I want to talk about these in, so we'll just try to tackle them as I grab them and tell a little story. But not too long, because, God, I have places to be. And by places to be, I mean on this couch, playing more video games. Actually, I'm doing a 251, I should say, run of Pokemon Gold, Silver, and Crystal. And that's time-consuming. So this is eating away at my time. But I do this for your benefit and also mine. It's really nice to tell the stories and stuff like that. So let's go! This past month was August, and so I got to go with my friends Joe and Ray and Allie to the Long Island Retro Video Game Expo. A couple of friends of mine were already there because they were either selling or were already attending. So shout outs to my buddy Phil, whose booth I visited, and my friend Tessa, who I hung out with a little bit at the con. But yeah, I got to buy video games there. I bought a lot, actually. So let's just go over them. I bought 5 Sega Genesis games from that con. They're the only Genesis games that I picked up this month, so no stories really necessary except for one of them. Toe Jam and Earl in Panic on Funkotron. This is the second game in the Toe Jam and Earl series, and I fucking love it. And if you don't, it's probably because you didn't play it. Because if you had played it, you would love it too. From a buddy of mine, Justin, who was at the expo and who I already made an arrangement to buy some stuff from. We just decided to finally do the deal at the expo since we were both going to be there. I got Animaniacs for Sega Genesis. I love this game. Growing up, I used to rent it at Blockbuster for my Super Nintendo because I didn't have a Genesis growing up as a child. I don't have it for Super Nintendo now, but I have it on Genesis, and it's the same game. So, yeah! Then, of course, I had to delve into my puzzle game fancy, and I picked up Columns, which you can't tell it's Columns unless you look here. It's Columns for Sega Genesis. And what would Columns be without the third game in the series, because I already have Columns 2. Columns 3, which doesn't have a subtitle here or here, but the official name of this game is probably the edgiest title that a puzzle game has ever had. It's Columns 3, Revenge of Columns. Let that sink in a little bit. But it's just more columns. Yeah! And then the one with the story. So I picked up a copy of this game, The Great Circus Mystery, starring Mickey and Minnie, at a booth at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, and it was in really, really bad condition. But I have never seen this game in person before. It's not very easy to find. Now, it's on Super Nintendo also, and truth be told, that's where I would prefer to play it, because I used to rent it on Super Nintendo growing up as well. But I saw it on Genesis, and I knew that it existed on Genesis, but I'd never seen it in person, so I said, yeah, you know what, let's just pick it up. We'll get it for Super Nintendo later, because I want to own everything, right? Doesn't matter. But it was in terrible condition. But I picked it up anyway because I'd never see it. Later on, I noticed that another booth is actually selling this copy, which is in really, really good condition. So I make a deal with him, and I say, okay, I actually have a game in my bag that was traded to me for, some other stuff, but it's a double, and I don't need it. If I give you this shitty copy of Great Circus Mystery, along with this double, which was Street Fighter II Championship Edition for Genesis, will you give me the good copy? And he said, yeah! So I got the good copy! Yes! So here's a couple small boys. Also at the Retro Gaming Expo, I got Sonic the Hedgehog Triple Trouble for Sega Game Gear. Cute little game. I've actually never played it, although I do have it on the Sonic Gems collection for GameCube. I just haven't really dabbled with it. So I decided to finally pick it up, and I'll try it out eventually. I haven't really gotten the chance to pop it in and do much with it. I have tested it, so I have popped it into the Game Gear. I just haven't really played it much. So I can't give too much of an opinion, but from what I've seen, looks good. It's a Sonic Game Gear game. They're really not that terrible. Except maybe Sonic Labyrinth. But that's neither here nor there. From my buddy Dustin, he gave this to me for $3.50. He really wanted that Tree Fitty. It's Gauntlet / Rampart for Game Boy Advance. Thank you, Dustin. And he actually gave it to me complete in the box. So I wanted to show the box on camera, but it's down there with a whole bunch of stuff in front of it, so just take it from me, I got the box for this too, with the instruction manual. Yeah. I didn't want to do some rearranging to get that box out. There were a couple other boxes I'm going to be showing off that I was able to get out, but God, I just didn't want to go through the hassle. This thing's buried in there. So, there you go. Thanks, Dustin. Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, which I had never played before. And I got this from Justin at the expo as well. Part of that same deal that I got Animaniacs in. So now I get to play this too, and I actually got it at a really cheap price, because he's a super cool dude, and he was doing super cool deals for super cool people. It's just a shame that I ended up getting one of those deals instead of a super cool person. Oh well. Great game, can't wait to play it. So I commonly talk about my friends Nathaniel and Shannon. They live in Connecticut, and I visit them from time to time, and sometimes they visit me, and sometimes Nathaniel will text me, or Shannon will text me, and one of them will say, hey, there's some things here that you might want, let's buy them for you, and you could pay me back later. How does that sound? And I'll usually say yes. In fact, every single time that they've asked, I've said yes. So it's not a usual thing, it's an always thing. I'll always say yes. So they bought me a couple of things, and then I went to visit them in Connecticut at the beginning of August, and I got to claim those things. And then we went together to the place where they bought those things, and I myself bought more things of the same type. And those things are Intellivision games in the box. So, let's take a look. So, it was actually super cool of them to do this for me. I love it when people do this. And if it's any consolation to any of you out there who really want to get on my good side, this is a good way to do it. So first things first, we have the box, just the box, for Triple Action for Intellivision. And Nathaniel assumed that the games would be in here, but I guess he didn't open them up to check. But something odd that was in here, even though the game and the manual and the overlays aren't, is it contained the manual for Mike Tyson's Punch-Out on Nintendo Entertainment System, which I didn't have, and I just recently got the game, so that was a nice thing, especially since this manual can go for like $20 on its own. Wow. But it also contained, for some reason, the overlays and the instruction manual to Kool-Aid Man on Intellivision, which is not very expensive of a game, but it's considerably uncommon. So yeah, that was kind of cool also. I don't have the game to go with them, but I will eventually, so it adds to completion. That was really fun. So yeah, that box containing no triple action contained some other action. But other than that, Nathaniel and Shannon picked up for me Horse Racing, complete in the box. Actually, it's not fully complete. It doesn't have the overlays for the controllers, but it's got the box, the game, and the instruction manual, so that's close enough. Every time I do one of these videos, something stupid like that happens. Well, there goes the game. Thank God I have a carpeted floor. Donkey Kong for Intellivision. Yeah, Nintendo actually used to license their games before they didn't. And everything's in here also. I'll just show it off. Here's the instruction manual. This one doesn't open in the front like other Intellivision games because it's a third-party game. Here's the instruction manual, and the game is in here as well. So, not bad. And all of these were just $5 each, and that's about what they go for. But when they're fully complete like this, any price is pretty good to pay if it's under $10. So I was really happy with that. And then Burger Time, one of my favorite arcade titles ever, which is also complete in the box. Here's the instruction manual, and the game is just nestled right in there. Burger Time. Burger Time! So we went back to the place, as I said, and on my own, with them in tow, I purchased more Intellivision games. So, complete in the box, I have NFL Football, containing every single thing. NASL Soccer, containing not only everything that was supposed to come in the box originally, but it has an extra overlay. It's supposed to only have 2, but for some reason, there's a third one in here. I'm not complaining. Major League Baseball, and a launch title for the Intellivision, Las Vegas Blackjack and Poker. Actually, it's Poker and Blackjack, and it says that right in front of me. For some reason, I still said it backwards. Feel free to destroy any friendship that you wanted to have with me before this video started, and any friendship you were planning on having with me after this video ended. I am a bad man. I say things wrong, and I'm sorry. Okay, moving right along. We went yard sailing at the end of July, me and Joe, and as you guys know, we found that giant lot of computer stuff where I got the Commodores, and I said that Joe got that Atari lot. Well, he finally went through the games as I said that he was going to, and he gave me all of the doubles. I'm sorry, he kept all of the games that I had doubles of, and he kept the 2600, and he gave me all of the games I didn't already have. I gave him a 20 spot for all of them because, according to him, it was their value divided by 2 minus some because I'm his friend. So, thank you, Joe. So let's go through them. I got the Sears Telegames version of Space Invaders, which I guess you can't tell until you look here. That was cool. Video Chess, which is infamous because if you play on the hardest difficulty on Video Chess, the computer can take up to several hours, literally, I'm not exaggerating, to make a single move. Way to go. Demon Attack, a third-party game for Atari 2600 by iMagic. Pretty much all iMagic's games look like this. They're really strange. Dark Cavern, a Mattel game for Atari 2600, and all of their games pretty much look like this. Go figure. It's basically an Intellivision game with this thing on the end, so it'll fit inside of an Atari 2600. Yay! No copyright laws in the early 80s. Activision's Chopper Command. Fantastic game for the 2600. Really happy to have this. And California Games, which, even though it says for Atari 2600, 7800, and Sears Telegames Video Arcade, this is a 2600 game. It plays in a 7800 because the 7800 is backwards compatible, and they just decided to put that on the label. So this is a 2600 game, don't be fooled. So, did you think the Atari games were going to end there? Let's do a quick jump cut, shall we? Alright, more Atari 2600 games, courtesy of Joe. Air Sea Battle. Really good game. Actually, I really enjoy it personally. Another Mattel third-party game, it's Astro Blast. And this very beaten-up copy of Boxing. I'll replace it eventually, but it's nice to have it right now. This was back when graphics just, were super primitive, so that boxing match looks like a white crab and a black crab trying to fisticuff each other. And another Epix third-party game for 2600 that has a slew of consoles on it for compatibility. It's Summer Games. Yeah, same deal as California Games. Activision's Stampede! Another really good game although pretty much that can be said about any Activision game for the 2600. And Space Shuttle: A Journey into Space, again by Activision, and it has some discoloration here, but again, I'm just happy to own it. I'll get replacements for anything with terrible label damage eventually. So thank you, Joe. Except we're still not done! Atlantis by iMagic for Atari 2600. And we have Jungle Hunt for Atari 2600. And Enduro. Somebody decided to pen in the E and part of the N. I'll replace this eventually. But thank you, Joe. And lastly from Joe, I got Dodge 'em, which is a really fantastic game for 2600, and I'm happy to own this. But there is one more 2600 game I got, and this one I got at Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. For a single dollar, I got Nintendo's Mario Brothers for Atari 2600. Yes, again, Nintendo used to license their IPs to other consoles before they started making their own. Now they don't do that anymore, and they haven't in very many years. But yeah, not a very good port of Mario Brothers if you ask me, but still playable and still really fun. So yeah, that's all the Atari 2600 stuff. I promise. Let's move on. What would the world be without the Nintendo 64? Well, it would be a PlayStation world, I guess. But I got a few N64 games worth talking about, and I snagged every single one of these at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. So, firstly, we have Jet Force Gemini, a fantastic game. I recommend playing this if you haven't. Emulate it if you can. Or borrow it from a friend. I actually know a lot of people who own this game. Like, people who really don't play a lot of video games, if they have an N64 in their basement or in the attic or whatever. More often than not, I've found they'll actually have a copy of this game, and I don't know why. It's not that hard to find, but it's also not the most common title in the world, so really cool game. Definitely check it out. And of course, Beetle Adventure Racing. Just looking at this, it might seem like shovelware for the Nintendo 64, but I assure you, this game is actually really awesome. It is a racing game where you drive Volkswagen Beetles. So, yeah, it's really cool. I don't know, give it a shot. And I had to cave and buy, something infamous or historically pertinent. So I got Superman, the new Superman Adventures for Nintendo 64, also colloquially known simply as Superman 64. This game is commonly cited as one of the worst video games for the console, if not one of the worst video games ever made. So yeah, that's fun. Definitely had to own that one. And of course, as I do with all of my Nintendo 64 games, I gave them those vinyl stickers for end labels, because Nintendo decided not to give them their own end labels. But yeah, they look really nice on my shelf, which right now is a disaster because I pulled all those Atari games off the shelf to show you guys. But yeah, there it is. Let's move on. At the end of August, I drove with my buddies Dustin and Joe up to Buffalo, New York to visit Dustin's girlfriend Zoe. Pretty much we go every year, so it was a nice change of pace. I got to go on a short little vacation with my buds and see Zoe. And Zoe was like, hey, I actually have some stuff I want you to take. I was just going to get rid of it otherwise. Do you want it? And I said, of course I want it. Who do you think I am? So that's what a lot of that stuff there is in the back. But we'll get to that very soon. But probably the coolest thing she gave to me was something that I was really looking forward to, is the Fuchsia Game Boy Advance. And she gave it to me with the wireless adapter for multiplayer purpose. It's like a wireless link cable, you could call it, but its official name is wireless adapter. Doesn't really do a good job of explaining what it's for, though. But if you remember the link cable, where you can actually link one Game Boy to another with a real cord, this lets you communicate wirelessly with two Game Boy Advances. And in that way, you can trade Pokemon. This was actually sold with copies of Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green. And I'm pretty sure that was the only way you could get it, if I remember correctly. Although I'll have to look that up to be 100% sure. But yeah, there it is. And along with the Fuchsia Game Boy Advance, that's really something totally awesome that I really wanted. So thank you so much, Zoe. The only issue with this, but Zoe knew it already, is that it doesn't have a battery door. But I know a guy who specializes, for some reason, in selling authentic battery doors for every Nintendo handheld console, and they are 100% authentic. They aren't repros. So I'll just have to buy a Fuchsia battery door for this Game Boy Advance, and it'll be good as new. Thank you so much, Zoe. I really appreciate it. Who likes Super Nintendo? Yeah, I know you do. I know you do, don't you? I mean, after all, it's the console you grew up with, so you really love Super Nintendo. I mean, you played it all the time. It's the console that you very first got. It was your first video game console. So most of your favorite games of all time are on that. Would you stop? I get it. You like Super Nintendo. Jesus. With that being said, I bought a lot of Super Nintendo games. Let's go over them. I got Kirby's Avalanche at the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo. If you've ever played Puyo Puyo, or for Sega Genesis, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, this is Nintendo's equivalent. It's Puyo Puyo, but with Kirby. Kirby's Avalanche is a puzzle game, and honestly, it's a whole lot of fun. I guess my preferred way of playing Puyo is Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, because it's kind of what I grew up with, because I had the Sonic Mega Collection on GameCube, but this is the same game, and I'm more of a Nintendo boy, so maybe this will be my new preferred method. Who knows? For a very cheap price at the expo, I was also able to find a game that was definitely missing from my collection. I'm incredibly happy I picked it up. It's Illusion of Gaia. Whoa, what a great game. Wow. Wow. And I had to travel into the realm of infamy one more time, so I got myself a copy of Dino City, and if you say Dinocity, you're wrong. Or are you? I actually don't really know, but I, and everyone else that I know who has ever spoken about this game, says Dino City. So I got Dino City, bro! You may have heard of Dino City from the JonTron video about Dino City, which is actually where I first learned about it many years ago when that video first came out. So, there it is! It's Dino City by IRAM. It's not a terrible game, but I guess it's not necessarily that good either. But now here's a game that I grew up with, and I used to rent from Blockbuster all the time. My mom could probably tell you tales and stories and tons of little vignettes about this. But it's Smart Ball! This is a game, it's a platformer where you play as a ball who was turned into a ball because you were originally a human, but your brother was jealous of you and you were going to marry the princess or something, but then he was like, no, fuck you, I want to marry the princess, so I'm going to turn you into a blue ball. But then you were like, no, actually being a blue ball makes me cool, and now I have powers that I didn't have before, so I can kick your ass as a ball. Smart Ball. A lot of fun, actually. It's more challenging than I remember. When I was a kid, I think I beat it, but I don't recall. But that's okay. Pretty much the night that I came home with this, I popped in and beat it in one sitting because I love this game. And then last but not least, for the Super Nintendo games, my buddy Phil at the Retro Gaming Expo, he had his own booth and he was selling some things. So I picked a couple things up at his booth. One of which was a very, very wonderfully priced copy of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4 Turtles in Time. This game is incredibly expensive and incredibly hard to find, and it was just sitting there at a wonderful price because I guess he wants to help collectors out because he's a collector himself. I'm constantly doing business with him and saying hello and just chatting on Long Island Retro Gaming on Facebook with him, which is where we met. I actually did a deal with him once where he bought some controllers from me for a cheap price because I want to help collectors out too, so I price things relatively low. And I guess he does the same. So I got Turtles in Time because of him for a very cheap price. And that's not the only awesome thing I got because of Phil. Let's talk about that next with the next batch of games for PlayStation. So I got 4 PlayStation games last month, and 2 of them I got from Phil, and the other 2 I didn't get from Phil. So let's go for the 2 I didn't get from Phil first. Mega Man X4, my favorite Mega Man X game. Growing up, I played it on the Mega Man X collection for GameCube. And with the advent of the Mega Man X Legacy collections coming out for pretty much every current gen console, I decided to finally buy a regular copy for the original format of Mega Man X4. My favorite Mega Man X game. I love this game to death. So yeah, very happy to own it. Of course, it's the greatest hits version, but we've been over this a million times. That doesn't bother me. Maybe a little bit. What could possibly go wrong? It's Bubsy 3D. It's a really bad game for the PlayStation. because they thought Bubsy needed a PlayStation game, and they were wrong. I'm still happy I own it, though, but, you know, I got it really cheaply because nobody wants to play this game, so sellers are just trying to get rid of it. It's a platform game where you're a Bubsy Bobcat, but he's an asshole. And if you play this game, you're an asshole. Honestly, play it just to try it out. That won't make you an asshole, but if you like this game, maybe you are. I'm gonna jump cut here just because I need to de-stress after having touched that game. Alright, the jump cut's over. Let's talk about the two games I got from Phil. So, along with Turtles in Time, I did a bundle deal to get it even cheaper, and I picked up Ape Escape, the greatest hits version. Because I didn't have it. Fantastic game. For those of you who may not know, it's worth mentioning Ape Escape is a platformer where you are running around trying to catch apes who have escaped with your net. And when you catch them, they are no longer escaped apes. So this game should be called Ape No Longer Escape. But the big thing, and probably one of the best things I picked up at the convention, one of the best, I should say, is a little game that I have right here. I'll talk about it in a second. In fact, I'm going to talk about it right now. I was at Phil's booth, as I said, and if you bought something from his booth, you could pay him an extra $5, which might seem a little hefty, and you could roll 4 6-sided dice. And depending on what you rolled, what the result was, you would get a free game. Of what type depended on your roll. And, you know, he made the most common rolls really shitty games, like stuff for Wii, or like shovelware for Kinect, stuff like that. And he made some of the most uncommon rolls really hard to find or rare games. Well, it just so happens I rolled a 6, and on 4 6-sided dice, rolling a 6 total is incredibly uncommon. So I won Metal Gear Solid for PlayStation. Complete. In pristine condition, because Phil takes really good care of his shit. I'm really happy with this. And, you know, going into that sort of deal where I'm gambling, basically, for a free game, I expected to get a common roll, and I expected to walk away with a Wii shovelware title that maybe I already had. But I didn't! I got Metal Gear Solid for free! Well, actually, it was $5, but this game is worth more than $5! It's worth a lot more than $5, so yeah! So let's talk about Justin again. He gave me Animaniacs, and he gave me Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories, and he also gave me the red PlayStation 1 controller. Again, just like last video, how do I know it's a PlayStation 1 controller? Ba-boom. This is gray. And there's also no analog sticks on this whatsoever, so it has to be a PlayStation 1 controller. So yeah, red's my favorite color, so this is my new default controller whenever I play a PlayStation 1 game. I'm super happy to own this, especially because this goes for a little bit of money, I would say, and he gave it to me for a lot less than a little bit of money. So thank you, Justin, and I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate the prices that you gave me for your stuff. You're just a really swell dude. Thank you for helping out another collector. I really appreciate it. So, just like last time, why don't you guys watch me, wrap this up. It's quite intriguing, I would say. Look at that. It'll fit right in there with the other controllers. It's home. Alright, we're getting down to the home stretch, but we have one last thing before we tackle all those keep case games over there. And that's NES games that I got. So I picked all of these up at the Retro Gaming Expo as well. And no particular order, let's just go over them here. Kickle Cubicle, a cute little puzzle game for NES. I really like this game. And just like Dino City, it's made by IRIM. So you might think it's a bad game, but it's not. It's actually really good. I really like it. Elevator Action, an arcade title by Taito. Here's the NES version of it. It's actually a lot of fun, like a ton of fun. And even though it's kind of difficult, it has just enough elevator action to keep you playing and playing and playing until you're dead. So yeah, definitely play this game. And I got myself a copy of Wizards and Warriors 1 for NES. I have Iron Sword, which is Wizards and Warriors 2, and I've been looking for 3 and 1 for some time now, so I saw 1 for a decent price, and I decided to finally pick it up. Wizards and Warriors 1. And a game that I was probably more proud to own than happy, is I finally got the compilation cart of Super Mario Bros., Duck Hunt, and World Class Track Meet, which isn't impossible to find, but it's not super common, so I was really happy. Well, okay, I guess I was happy. What am I talking about? I'm happy and proud to finally own this compilation cart, because I actually don't own World Class Track Meet on its own. So not only did I get the compilation cart, but now I can play World Class Track Meet. You know, otherwise known as stadium events. But don't tell anybody that I said that, because I don't want the price on that to go up any more than it already has. Alright, here we go. The largest haul of them all. I'm going to have you hang out with me while I do this. I'm going to go through this one as quickly as I can. Alright, let's do it. I'm just going to put them from the bed straight onto the floor. Ready? Here we go. By the way, it's worth mentioning, these are all from Zoe. Thank you, Zoe. I really appreciate it. And oh no, my light shield went away. Oh no! Now I'm all washed out. I'll just put another one up there for you guys. Yeah, it's an index card. Sue me, okay? I don't have a studio. Here we go! Battlefield Bad Company 2 for Xbox 360, the Platinum Hits version. Fable 3 for Xbox 360. Spectro's Origins for Wii. Tales of Symphonia, Dawn of the New World for Wii. WWE Crush Hour for GameCube. For whatever reason, there's no E in the title here, but I looked it up and I cross-referenced as many catalogs and articles about this game as I could, and the official title is WWE Crush Hour. It's also not on the spine, but yeah, there's an E in there. True Crime Streets of LA Player's Choice Edition for Nintendo GameCube. Smashing Drive for GameCube. The Scorpion King Rise of the Acadian. Is that how you pronounce that? I haven't seen the movie, so I don't know. For GameCube. Scooby-Doo Unmasked! GameCube. Borderlands 2 for Xbox 360. Fallout 3 Game of the Year Edition Platinum Hits Edition for Xbox 360. Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events for GameCube. I love this book series. I know the game's probably not going to be the best in the world, but it's still probably worth a shot. Let's not drop anything as I usually do. Killer 7 for GameCube. This is a Capcom game. I wasn't expecting that. And according to every article I could pull up about the official title, Killer 7 is one word for some reason. Oh well. The Incredibles Rise of the Underminer. Which is, I don't know. I don't really know much about the Underminer. I've seen Incredibles. Haven't seen Incredibles 2 yet. So, maybe it'll be fun. Who knows? Freak Style with 2 E's for Nintendo GameCube. Freak E-Flyers for Nintendo GameCube. It's actually a dual-disc game. Weren't very many double-disc games for GameCube, so this is cool to own. So this one came without a case, but I made one because I really wanted this game. It's Donkey Kong Jungle Beat, so this is a case that I made. I made the artwork using just some MS Paint skills. And there's the game, Donkey Kong Jungle Beat. Thank you so much, Zoe, for my copy of Donkey Kong Jungle Beat for GameCube. Alright, so this one has like the title's all weirdly formatted here, so it's officially ATV Quad Power Racing 2, not ATV 2 Quad Power Racing. Are we clear on that? Good. For GameCube. Xbox 360's Gears of War Triple Pack. So this contains Gears of War 1, Gears of War 2, and the Gears of War 2 All Fronts pack. Okay. GameCube, Rayman Arena. More GameCube, One Piece Pirates Carnival. It's a party game for the anime One Piece, which I don't watch. So, you know. Still cool to own, though. Don't get me wrong. NFL Street 2 for GameCube. NFL 2K3 for GameCube. Player's Choice GameCube Need for Speed Underground. Actually a very good game, so I was happy to pick this up. Madagascar for GameCube, a movie tie-in game. Those are always really good. Player's Choice, Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. GameCube. And a game that I used to own, but I sold it a really long time ago. Happy to have it back. It's Looney Tunes Back in Action for GameCube. Actually a really fun platform. Xbox 360, Kinect Adventures. I do not have a Kinect, so I can't play this. But I see them all the time at yard sales. I just haven't picked one up yet. I will. Another Kinect game, Ice Age Continental Drift Arctic Games. It's a mini-game compilation containing Ice Age characters. I liked Ice Age, just the first one. The other ones were all kind of overdone. But this isn't a channel about movies. You guys want to hear me talk about the games? Oh no, they're dropping everywhere. Oh no! Alright, let's just grab the rest. I'm just doing one at a time here. Alright. Platinum Hits, Xbox 360's Halo Wars. Nintendo GameCube, The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Attack of the Twonkies. I'm sorry, I forgot. The Adventures of Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, Attack of the Twonkies. 2 colons, 1 game. Don't look that up on Google. Sniper Ghost Warrior, Xbox 360. Skylanders Swap Force for 360. Rise of the Guardians for 360. I actually saw this movie when it came out, and I enjoyed it. It's another movie tie-in game, though, so the game probably won't stand up to how the movie was, but we'll see. I already have this game. In fact, I picked it up and made it a subject of one of the parts of the previous video, but I didn't have the Platinum Hits version of Resident Evil 5. And lastly, now my bed is completely empty, it's on Xbox 360, Lego Marvel Superheroes. And that is everything. Let's do one more jump cut. Alright, so, yeah. This video probably ran longer than I intended it to anyway, just because I get really into the stuff that I pick up. And I'm very burpy in this episode because I had Taco Bell earlier. So, you know, I'm burpy. And I picked up a lot of games. Now I have to put all these back on the shelf, and I have to edit the video, and I have to go to bed, and, you know, just other things I just don't want to do with my life. But, everything I do it for you. Thank you so much for watching. I've been doing this for a year! It feels great. I mean, these videos, I've been collecting for like 10 years, but doing these videos feels so liberating and so glorifying because I get to show off all the stuff that I picked up, and it doesn't feel like I'm bragging because people are voluntarily clicking and watching because they want to, and they want to see what kind of stuff I picked up, and, you know, that really means a lot to me that you guys are interested. So thank you so much for watching. Consider subscribing to my channel. I'm going to be finishing up my Let's Play of Super Mario 64 very soon, and I have information about my new musical album coming out very, very soon as well. In fact, I've already started work on that video. So, let's get dangerous.